So the data, I know that you're a data person. Is it moving in the direction you want it to go?
So, yeah, so the NWA MAP assessment is what we took last week. There are makeups happening as we speak, but we took math on Wednesday, language arts on Thursday, and science on Friday. So over the weekend, the team put together ELA, language arts, and math data. So I think you guys, if you didn't get a copy, you can get a copy of the data sets.
We would love to have that, please.
And I'll just give you the big bullet points of it. Number one, the kids did well, which also means teachers did well, right? Teachers stepped up. And when I say did well, I mean better than the national average. So, you know, when you do better than the national average is what we need to do because we're behind proficiency-wise, then the national average, it's good to see that growth. And then 3, the NES schools did significantly better than the non-NES. I mean, not just marginally better, as was reported, but significantly better.
Wow, I can't wait to see those numbers.
Yeah, they did. And so the 4th thing I'll say, because I want to make sure we don't over celebrate. I mean, we need to celebrate kids and we need to celebrate teachers, but this is just one data set. 4.5 months of work, one data set, that does not make a trend.
Right.
Okay, so at a district level, I'm happy about the results, but I'm also, you know, cautious that, look, we got a long road to hoe here. We got a long way to go.
Okay.
So we need to celebrate our kids when they do well and then continue to do the work.
Yeah. Okay, Superintendent Miles, thank you so much for having us here. You've just released a report. Can you tell us about that report and what it means?
The NWA, the assessment report?
The one that Sam just sent us this morning that shows the schools with the ratings.
Yes. So tomorrow morning, we're going to release all the schools' ratings. These are the A through F ratings that TEA did not release, but we did our own calculations. We had the raw data, we had the methodology, and so we calculated the A through F ratings. We also had technical support from TEA, so we believe our numbers are very, very accurate, and we're okay with releasing them. So that happens tomorrow. We also will identify the 20 F-rated campuses that are not already NES, New Education System. So those 20 will be identified and they will become NES next year in the 24-25 school year. We'll also have 6 low D, D-rated campuses, also not already NES or NES aligned, and they will become NES next year also. So that's 26 schools that will be NES next year, added to the 85 schools that we already have. Then there's one other subset. I'm sorry to be so detailed, but we have a subset of 24 schools that are D-rated campuses, but mid-D to higher D, and they will have a choice. They can choose to opt into NES. We will take up to 14 of those 24.
Okay.
So that's what's being released tomorrow.
Just to clarify, because I want you to know that I knew that this wasn't released until tomorrow and then we weren't doing anything until tomorrow. It's just that when this airs, we're going to be like, today you released it. So that's why I said that, just so you're comfortable and understand what's going on here.
I forgot that you got this. Okay.
Okay, no, it's okay. So can you explain for people who don't understand what these ratings mean, how are they calculated? And this is from last year, right?
Yes, thanks for asking. So it's calculated from the STAR exam, the end of course exams, and the college career military readiness data. And the state puts this together in an algorithm and uses a methodology to calculate then what the A through F rating is. So basically it's based on last year's STAR. This is a rating for 2023. Even though we're releasing it now, it was for 2023. So that's what the schools can expect, an A through F rating based on 2023 data.
Is it normal to get last year's data around this time?
No. Normally we would have received it in September, probably.
Okay, but because of the lawsuit, you
Right.
had to request this information yourself?
Well, there was also some, the Texas Education Agency had to get some input from the community. There's certain steps they had to take because they changed a couple variables in that algorithm,
Okay.
that methodology. So they had to get input from the state board and others, and so it was a little bit delayed that way. And then the enjoinment, they were enjoined from releasing the scores, so that's why it's as late as now.
How do they compare last year's scores compared to the year before?
Yes, and you will notice right away, and I've given a preview of this because we had some preliminary data from TEA back in June, and you may remember that at that time there were 80 some schools that would be D or F. So we already knew that compared to 2022, when there's 10 or 11 D or F schools, we were going to drastically increase it. But anybody who's been paying attention knows that the academic achievement in the district has been declining for several years. So it was going to be a lot more D and F schools.
Okay. So the schools that are NES aligned this year, are they going to be officially NES schools next year? I know you.
Yes, so thanks. We're going to get rid of the aligned moniker. So it'll all be NES.
Okay. So about how many with those? We got like 87 right now, right?
There's 85 total. There are 57 NES aligned, 28 NES.
And then we're going to add to that number the next school year.
Up to 40.
Okay. So tell me, how has the school year been going so far, would you say, from your perspective?
I think it's been going great. If you come to the Wednesday, once a month, straight from the source meetings, another one is this Wednesday, you hear from students, teachers, parents, DIAD consultants, these consultants who teach music and photography and all martial arts, principals. You get a feel for how it is going. That's number one. I get a feel because I've been in 80 schools, over 400 or 500 classrooms. So I get a feel for what's going on in the schools and how the kids feel, how the teachers feel. I just finished with the principal advisory meeting, which I hold every month, and I think we have teacher advisory council tomorrow. Is it tomorrow or sometime? It's also once a month. I meet and train with principals tomorrow all morning. That happens once a month. I meet with executive directors every Monday, so I hear all these things. So how is it going? Based on all of that, it's going very well. That's maybe anecdotal, but the data points to it too. So we put out several times that the discipline in the district discipline issues are down tremendously. In the NES schools in particular, it's down a lot. Teacher absenteeism is down. We have a decrease of 53% of high absenteeism for teachers. Mm-hmm. So more teachers are coming to work. We have now NWA data, but we also have other spot observation data that shows the quality of instruction going well. So it's a combination of data and this direct observations and listening to executive directors and principals, I can say it's going well.
Speaking of the data, do you look at, I think this is what you're saying, but there's so many acronyms, so many.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
yeah,
it's okay, but I do want to ask specifically, I know you guys, the students take DOLs every single day. Do you look at those numbers from across the NES schools?
No, that's too fine, too granular for me.
Yeah.
I make sure that they're doing DOLs when I go to the classrooms, but I don't look at the DOL. That's a great question that the teachers should be looking at. Mm-hmm. DOL is demonstration of learning. Mm-hmm. It is a mini quiz. Mm-hmm. I know you know that. I'm talking to your audience, so want to know. So teachers should be looking at those data every Thursday during a PLC, which is when they get together to talk about data.
Okay. Now, the other testing, I think you said NWA?
Yeah.
Now, what does that stand for? NWEA?
It's okay. Northwest Educational Association. I think that's what it means, but it's a company that has this nationally normed assessment. Over 6 million kids take this assessment. It's more and more districts are using NWEA because it can compare data across the country, so that you get a real idea of what the typical student should learn.
Right. So we got an opportunity to look at Fleming's, I think it was critical thinking, social studies, or art of thinking, thank you. Art of thinking, social studies, and I can't remember the other. But they took tests at the beginning of the year and mid-year, and we saw 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, especially 8th graders, their scores increased by a lot. I know that they just took the ELA.
Yeah, I'm eager to see what they did on the NWEA.
So did you see any results from any, or are
we only took it last week, and we got the data over the weekend. So I'm looking at district level data, right? But having said that, I did get data from Wheatley and North Forest. Those are the only two I had time to gather, the team did, and they did really well. So we'll spend the next week or two looking at individual schools, especially the NES schools, to see how they did on the exam.
Overall, before the interview started, you talked a little bit more about what you saw and how hopeful it was. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think, what keeps me going and what keeps a lot of people going, I think, is how the kids do. If the kids do well, I'm having a good time. If the kids not doing well, I'm not having a good time. So the kids did great. I mean, for me, internally, and for the team, I talked to the executive directors today. I just talked to the principal advisory committee about the NWA scores tomorrow. All the principals will meet with me, and we're going to go over the scores, at least at the division, at the district level. There's no question the kids did great. And again, great means better than the national average, pretty significantly. And the NES schools, while the whole district did great, the NES schools did significantly better than the non-NES schools.
So
NES and NESA did significantly better than non-NES.
What does that say?
That says to me that we put in the right supports, that the program, the NES model, is helping underserved kids like it was intended to do. It would be surprising that it wasn't that way, right? We put in teacher apprentices, learning coaches, a curriculum that's high quality, that's tied more to the science of reading. We put in more assistant principals. We put in these differentiated model where a kid is behind gets more time. A kid who's ahead gets challenged. That is the way to run schools anyway, and this is really structured in the NES world. More engagement strategies, fewer discipline problems. Yes, they're going to do better. So that's what it tells me, we're on the right path. Again, I'm going to say it again, it's just one set of data, guys, so let's not break out any mission accomplished signs, but at the same time, we know we're on the right path, and we know that our kids deserve celebrating this week.
So absolutely, and we should celebrate this milestone. We are at the middle of the school year, though, so what do you anticipate seeing in the next few months? Yeah,
I think we have other data that we're going to look at. We're still looking at the we call it spot observations, or observations of teacher. We have data around that. We have, in the first 2 weeks of February, an independent review team going into the schools looking at the quality of instruction and assessing that. So we will have some data points. We also have, the DOLs continuing, the demonstrations of learning. We have unit exams. And then the next big assessment is the STAR assessment and the end of year NWEA end-of-year exams.
Okay. And you mentioned quality of instruction. I just, some of the tougher questions, we've been following this very closely, and some of the teachers talk about the curriculum and you know, the issues that have been happening with curriculum. They sometimes say it feels like it's rushed, there's lots of mistakes, and I just wonder, is that what you're hearing, and then what's being done to address those issues?
So I think at the beginning of the year we had a lot more questions. Some of it was mistakes, but some of it is just getting used to a new curriculum, like you would anywhere in the United States when you have a new textbook. You know, people are going to wonder, okay, how's this used, and things like that. But lately I've not heard much at all. And whenever I go into a school, I look at the assignments and the curriculum, and I've seen it get stronger and stronger. And I don't hear many teachers in the NES world complaining about those lesson assignments now. And I see people using them. I don't see many people not using the curriculum. So I think, yes, at the beginning, I think people are getting used to it. And you'll remember back in October, in response to some of the earlier criticism, we brought in a whole bunch of teachers who work half-time at teaching the subject and then half-time in the curriculum department helping vet those lessons and making sure those lessons are strong. So I think that was a really useful thing to do that the curriculum department did, and it's paying dividends now.
Okay. What about the people who, we hear lots of great things about NES, but what about the ones who say that it's moving too fast for the general population of students, and they are afraid that a lot of them will be left behind, and now we're about to add more schools into the NES system? How do you address those concerns?
Well, it hasn't, first of all. I mean, the NES schools got better growth than the non-NES schools. In fact, in middle school reading, on the NWEA MAP assessments, our Black and Hispanic kids in the NES schools grew more than the white students in any school. So that's telling. Any type of school, so whether it's NES, NESA, or non-NES, the white students in those schools, our NES Black students and NES Hispanic students outpace them in middle school reading. So it's working the way it's supposed to work. We're not leaving kids behind. Part of it is because of the differentiated model. Kids who struggle get more time with the teacher, the expert. Kids who are ahead get challenged. And this happens every day in every classroom, ELA math, and next year it'll be science and art of thinking. So I don't think it's too fast. I think it's rigorous, and kids rise to the level of expectations, which they show they have been doing.
I spoke with a parent who has a special education student, and the parent said, not the student, that the special education students are in the same class with the general population students. But does it work?
It depends on their IEP, but
okay.
Yes.
Is that, so that is the case, and is the system working for them too because of the way that you just said it works for kids who are ahead, and those who need more attention are working with the teacher? Can you explain how this model still works with special education students?
Yes, so special education is a wide range of kids. So you have some life skills kids who need independent one-on-one care and instruction. And those are also special ed kids, and sometimes they cannot be with the rest of the students. The majority of special education students are moderate needs students, and those students, instead of being, their IEP will dictate where they are, but most of their individualized education plan, a plan required by law for special education students. So their IEP will dictate where that kid goes, but most moderate needs special ed students can be included, that's a technical term we use, in the classroom. So they are with their peers, learning at the rate their peers learn, with scaffolded support or with the special ed teacher helping right next to them. So It depends on their IEPs, but I'm glad to see special education students included in the classroom. I think that's where they should be. Gone are the days, I hope, where we just exclude kids just because they are special needs.
How would you describe the morale in the district?
So, at the end of the year, we're going to ask that specific question, and then every year we're going to ask questions about morale. Every time I've been a superintendent, I've been asking people about the morale. Morale and culture are two different things, and morale depends on some different factors. You could have low morale just if you're sick. Culture is a different question. But just to answer your question, not to be too technical, I think the morale is improving. I think, no question when there's change, this was a transformation. There's some people that are going to be angry just because they don't like the transformation. They still don't like it, and they won't like it, 6 years from now or 5 years from now or whenever. They're still not going to be happy. And that's okay. That's their right. But with regard to what's happening in the school, I've found that over time, morale is mostly about what's happening in the school, not what's happening in the district level, not anything that I say or do or anything. It's what happens in the school. How are you being treated by your principal? How are you being treated by your colleagues? How do the kids respond to you? Are the kids allowed to disrespect you? And is the work too hard? Things like that's happening right there. That's what accounts for most morale. And I think that's improving because now as people lose their anxiety around what NES is, what this reform is, am I going to lose my magnet program? Am I going to, understand the curriculum? And, what is this multiple response strategy business? As anxiety goes down, I think morale goes up, and they really look at what's going on around them. I've been in these 80 schools so far, and I'll go into more this semester, of course, but I've been in those schools, and teachers are starting to feel more and more supported by their principal. And they're feeling more and more supported with the curriculum materials. And definitely ask the teachers that ask the RSOs, the police officers.
I have, and they said exactly what you said.
And they will tell you that, wow, they've never seen the kids behave as well. Look, it's a big district, there's lots of schools, and kids, kids are kids, so there's going to be some challenges, but for the most part, people have seen that, wow, the kids are respecting the teachers. The kids are not allowed to get away with, with disrespect or hitting teachers or anything like that. And so I think as time goes on and they see this actually happening out and panning out, like we said it would, I think you're going to see better morale.
Okay. Why does this matter to you? You could be anywhere, but you chose to come here, and it was a challenge.
Look, I'm a professional public servant. You look at my career. That's what I do. And when I got back, I was an Army officer, and then I was a U.S. diplomat in Poland and Russia. And when we got back from Russia, my wife and I said, what public service am I going to do now? And I said, the most important work of our time, this is in 1995, the most important work of our time is to educate kids well. So I started doing that. And I still believe it is urgent. I have some challenges with my profession, not being urgent enough. And so I want to make sure that the kids in HISD get the best education possible. Time is against them. The future is here. And so we've got a lot of work to do in a short amount of time. I mean what I say about getting them ready for the year 2035. I want the best for them. And I want them to have a lot of opportunities. I look at you and look how many opportunities you've had, partly because of your education, right? And let's get all of our kids to have the same level of opportunity that you've had and same success that you've enjoyed.
You mentioned Destination 2035, and you've been saying that since you got here. What does that mean? We already need to be there. What does that mean?
Yeah, I look out at the workforce and the landscape. And what I see is a skills gap growing. I see that a kid who can't read or do math at grade level graduating from high school, and I ask myself, does that child have the skills to engage a market where skills are becoming bifurcated, either medium and high skills over here and then low skills. Low skill jobs are growing. Higher skill jobs need even more skills. If you graduate without math or reading ability or year 2035 competencies, critical thinking, problem solving, learning how to learn, working in teams, working with AI, without those competencies, you're going to be relegated to this level of job. And there's nothing wrong with this level of job if that's a choice you make. But, you know, again, I'm looking at the people in this room, and, you know, we all have had the opportunity to be in with these skills, and everybody in this room is in a higher skilled job. I want our kids to be there, and I don't see the profession really helping close that gap or avoid a skills gap.
This is my last question for you. If you really feel that way and that's where your heart is, how does it feel to be met with so much resistance and so much criticism?
You know, that's, first of all, that's part of the job. People are true public servants who trying to do change, who know they have to bring change, transformation. The real innovators have always been met with criticism. So there's a certain amount of grace that I have to give to people. I wish I could get some grace too, but you know, I'm the one bringing the change, so I understand why some people would be angry about it, and that change would manifest itself in anger towards me, even though they don't know me. They don't know my heart. They don't know what I truly want to do. So that's okay. The team and I, as long as we stay the course, and as long as our kids are doing well, in the long run, we're going to help a whole bunch of kids.